speak. Right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for attending the meeting of the Stands Committee held here today on Thursday, the 14th of November 2024. Welcome, everyone. And for those who don't know me, my name's Councillor James Gleeson. I'll be chairing this meeting this evening. Members of the committee are present here at the Civic Centre. Also present with me are our officers required to support the meeting. Other members of the council present in the Civic Centre should please switch on their microphone, it's not going well tonight, to indicate if they wish to speak, and then switch them off once they've finished speaking to avoid any feedback. Any members, we have a few who have dialed in via Teams, are asked to keep the microphone on mute, and please use the raise your hand function to indicate a request to speak, and mute your microphone once you have finished speaking. Reports will be presented by the officers and then debated by the committee. Once the committee has considered the report, I will then invite comments from other members. Please note this meeting is recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Okay, we'll now move to the agenda. So apologies, I have apologies from John Rainsbury and both the independent persons, David and Victoria. Any more?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. If a member has a pecuniary interest, they are requested to leave the meeting completely. The member can then rejoin the meeting following the completion of the item in question. Does anybody have any interest to declare? Okay, that's a no. Item 3, minutes of the last meeting. I have the minutes of the last meeting held on September the 18th, 2024 for approval. Do we have a proposer? Peter, Councillor Fillinger, and a seconder? Councillor Jackson. Thank you. And then can we vote just to put them through, please? All those in favour? Yeah. Okay, item 4, minutes of the Social Media Protocol Working Group. I have the draft minutes from the meeting on the 4th of March 2024 and the 14th of August 2024 for approval. Do we have a proposer? Jackson, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Watson. And then we vote that through. Yeah, can we vote that through? All those in favour? Waiting on. Okay, item 5 is the Social Media Protocol. Taz, Deputy Monitoring Officer, will present the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So this is item 5 on the agenda. It relates to the social media protocol. And members will recall that the last meeting held on the 18th of September, you wish to have sight of the original version of the social media protocol discussed at the working group meetings on the 4th of March and the 14th of August, together with the proposed track changes incorporated the amendments discussed at the meeting on the 18th of September. In that regard, the reason for that request was because a couple of members were not present at the working group meeting and so were unaware of the amendments that were being put forward. So members are referred to Appendix A, which is the final draft version of the social media the social media protocol. So that is the original version considered on the 4th of March, which is in black text, unhighlighted, with amendments presented at the meeting on the 14th of August in red text, and the changes suggested on the 18th of September in purple text. So members are requested to approve the social media protocol for onward consideration at full council, with a recommendation that the council adopt the protocol. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
No, sir. If you want to propose, I've got one other question, and it's tangential really, but I wonder whether the council might be prepared to give advice about the use of social media owned by members of foreign governments. You might guess which one.
Through you, Chair, I don't think that comes within the remit of officers. So I think the answer is no to that question. That's a Fillinger.
We will note your question, Councillor Fillinger, just for future reference. Thank you. Okay, so does anyone have any more questions about the social media protocol?
Could I just ask 2 questions? Sorry. The first one is on in the pack 16 under third-party content. You're expected to moderate social media content or even any posts. It's sort of, I guess my question is, like, what's the reasonableness test? So if somebody posts on a comments on a post from a long time ago, how will we actually, you might not get a notification. How would you ensure that that was upheld, reasonable? I guess my first question. And it's all right if I ask my second question at the same time. And then in the do's and don'ts, I guess I'd just like to understand a bit further the thinking on some don'ts. Use social media to attack. Obviously, the insult, abuse, defame thing is taken as given, but in particular the attack, the council itself, and how, like, would it be, there's no Greens on the council, so I'll say this. Would it be acceptable if we say the Greens have done a terrible job of collecting bins? What is idiotic way to, like, where does an attack fit within the do's and don'ts as a reasonableness in a party political setting, which obviously the council is? And they're my 2 questions, really.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I think these questions around, I'll start with the do's and don'ts. I think these sort of went to the working group, didn't they? And I think that they were obviously put together by the working group. However, in terms of attacks, I think it's one of those scenarios where I think it's a bit of common sense. Is sort of my sort of position, and just try to, remain sensible in terms of what you post. Your second question was around the third party content. And sorry, could you just repeat your question again?
Sorry. It basically, it says we should remove third party content, and I accept that's somebody was putting something right. Yeah, I accept the parameters, but often people can comment on find things on the internet that from posts that you've made a long time ago that you might not be engaging with, and sort of, I suppose, as a councillor, monitoring every post that you've ever done is quite difficult especially if people have been councillors for a long time. And I guess what's the reasonableness test of how you expect how this will be enforced and what the expectation on councillors would be around that?
Okay. I think the advice would be, or the recommendation would be, that obviously I appreciate you may not be able to go through every single post, but it's probably advisable just to have a look through, just in case there is anything there that potentially could come back to haunt you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jackson?
I think too, what should be considered is, it does say it in the notes, but personally, I do that. There's my personal Facebook page or social media, which is completely separate from my political. And then I have rules that I make for myself, because there are people who do want to troll, whatever, but I don't respond to people who don't show me their face. And if they query it, I said, well, you can see mine, let me see yours. And you just have to be very, very selective in who you choose. And that's kind of safeguard for you too, whoever you let onto your social media page.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. So I think, does anybody else have any more questions? No, we're all good. So we're at the end of the debate for that. So, sorry, Taz, yeah, go ahead.
So we had a proposer. I think Councillor Pillinger proposed. Who seconded?
Nobody yet. Could we have a second protocol, please? Thank you, Councillor Jackson. And then could we have a vote on whether we're going to put it through?
That's been approved.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Okay, item 6, standards regime, verbal update and committee training. Again, this will be presented by Taz.
Thank you, Chair. So at the last meeting, there was a discussion around standards matters reporting, and I can confirm I have had a discussion with the monitoring officer, and it's proposed that we will submit an annual report moving forward. The last one that was before this committee was in December 23. However, just taking into account the fact that obviously the municipal year starts in April, I think the suggestion is that we move to provide that report to you in March. So that's the kind of suggestion that I've been provided after discussions with the MO. However, I can provide you with a verbal update today. And what I can tell you is that over the year, so since December last year, up until today, we have had 3 complaints, of which 1 proceeded to an investigation, and that investigation found that there was no breach of the code. Okay, so that and in respect of complaints against parish councillors, we've received none. The other item that we sort of discussed last time was around training, and I think there was a discussion that members would like to participate in a mock hearing. And again, I have spoken to the monitoring officer around that, and we are agreeable to facilitate that mock hearing for you. So there will be some training in the near future around that as well. Thank you.
Sorry, I've missed a question from one of the online members. I think Councillor Martin is there. Is he with us? Yeah, who had a question. Sorry, Councillor Martin, did you let us know your question?
It's more observations and questions. And can you hear me? Because I know there's difficulties. I'll take that as a no or a yes.
Sorry, Keith, couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, right. Well, the volume needs turning up on the wall then. If you can't hear me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, okay. It's just on the document that was at the end of the pack. And item number 2, you just described some of the social media software that's available, but we also have to keep in mind that emails are also classed as social media, and I know we have an email policy, but I think that needs to be kept in mind. I think we should avoid, or at least invite people to avoid some social media platforms such as Telegram and Signal and all that, because they do have a tendency to have some interesting comments on. Twitter or X is the same, and I think one of the things you need to learn, which we found out very quickly, is you have to be very careful what you post, because it could attract posts that you haven't invited because of the wording and things like that. So there are quite a few people moving away from that. In number 7, you talk about watching what others post. You mentioned it in part 10 as well of the same document, but the other thing we shouldn't do is entice comments that could be defamatory or could even have some sort of negative effect or criminal effects, actually. And you do have the options to turn off comments. The other one was screenshots. I know sometimes, from my experience, I'll give you my experience. A few years ago, we had a licensing issue with this council, and for about a year, I and others were subjected to a whole tidal wave of abusive posts and memes and comments and things like that. The only way you can really evidence them is you have to obviously screenshot them, but because if you're going to take them legal, there's other actions you have to take. You have to use an archive service so that the web page can be demonstrated as well. So we just need to be careful of that. With regard to friends of officers of the council and linking in with those, I mean, my mum used to have a saying, familiarity can breed contempt. So the easiest way to do that is just not do it at all. Don't get engaged with anyone like who is an officer of the council, because obviously it puts them in a position and you in a position as well. In item number 10, I mentioned images of people or children in your posts. You have to, I know when we do political posts and leaflets, we have to get a waiver, and the council has to get a waiver or an acceptable or an authorization from parents or guardians of children. So you just need to be careful about that. I think the easiest, I mean, in all my time as a councillor of posting on social media, I've never been rebutted in any way for my posts. Not the content, obviously, could be challenged, but and my thoughts, but the actual posts, I've never had an issue with being offensive or anything like that. And I think what that is a mindset you have to get straight into straight away. So just don't do anything that's going to. If you're not going to speak, if you can't say that to someone's face, then don't say it. And past posts, I know Councillor Ellis mentioned the past posts. I mean, the easiest way to remedy that is just to set up a new account for your councillor duties and do that. But you need to lock down your personal account so that no one can sort of hack into it. There is that tips as well. I mean, that's just my comments I wanted to make on here, but and thanks for letting me do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Thank you very much. Do you have any more question from Councillor Pillinger?
Yeah, the training that we've just talked about, the I say mock trial, but that's not quite the terminology. Will it be open to all members of the council? It just strikes me that it would be useful to people who are not on this committee as well as those who are.
Yeah, that training will only be available to the standards panel because obviously yourselves will be involved with any sort of panel hearings. I mean, we can give training to sort of general training to all councillors around the social media protocol, so that's possible.
Okay, I think that's everybody's questions. Perfect. So we've had it proposed and seconded, have we?
No.
No. So can we have a proposer for the? We're not voting anything, are we? In my head, I was looking at 5, not 6. Okay, yeah, I think that's everything then. Unless anybody's got any other business they want to bring up. No, that's it. Great. Thank you very much for attending, everybody. And the meeting's now closed.